Howdy there, Young and Silver Mongoose here, back again for a quick and casual video. And this is a topic that I haven't really heard anybody talk about, really, so I thought I'd bring it up. It's something that I thought was interesting. And what got me thinking about it was the Vancouver Retro Gaming Expo. So I was there at a Q&A of John Hancock. If you don't know who he is, he's made his rounds here on YouTube as guesting on people's shows. He also has his own channel, which I think is great. It's lo-fi, but it's like a classic YouTube channel, like from 2010. There's a lot of passion in what he does. He's a game collector extraordinaire, and what's really cool about him as a collector is that he actually, buys games for the right reasons, I think I should say. He loves to play games. He wants to open a video game museum someday. A really great guy, and I'll post his channel below if you want to check it out. But during his Q&A, somebody was talking to him about preserving video games, preserving history. And a point that he brought up that I thought was super cool, because I've never heard of anybody else who's had this perspective other than myself, is that if he gets a cartridge that has, stickers or something on it, he will not remove them. And this is kind of what I mean. So this is an example I have here. This is Willow on the NES, and you'll notice on the side there, it's has some labels so you don't open the game illegally. It's got a sticker here. It's got a sticker here. It's got the store from where this was rented back in the day, Bandito Video in Cambridge, Ontario, Canada. A place I've never been to. I've definitely never heard of Bandito Video. I don't think it's a chain. But his point was that, for all he knows, and for all I know, this is, one of the last remnants of this Bandito Video, and some people think, well, who cares, right? I assume that Bandito Video is no longer open, and that's because nobody really rents out games anymore. For all I know, there's somebody out there, in their 20s or 30s, and their thing every Friday was going out with their brothers or sisters or friends or parents and renting a game, renting maybe even this game from Bandito Video. And to me, that's part of gaming history. For me, it was renting games from a gas station, after baseball in the summer. And that's a part of gaming that doesn't really exist anymore. People don't really do that. So for me, this is a history of this cartridge, and also an example of the history of gaming, right? And I think that's worth preserving. Now I understand, people want their complete in box games. They want them, minty fresh, just like straight out of the Kmart and Zellers back in the day. But for me, this is more interesting. My copy of Doom has another one of those anti-tampering stickers on it, and this is one that's really interesting as well. So Jurassic Park, it has a Blockbuster Video sticker on the back. It also has a name that's crossed out in the front, a name that's crossed out in the back, and then also a name here, Piefinch. So what this tells me is that this cartridge probably started at a Blockbuster, was sold off, with a bunch of other games, purchased by a guy who eventually sold it to this Piefinch. So I know that this cartridge is at least gone through 3 hands when it's reached me. And to me, that's really interesting, right? It gives a history of this cartridge. And another thing related to this that I don't know of anybody else that does, but I'm sure people do it, is preserving save files. So an example of this is my copy of Phantasy Star on the Sega Master System. The first file is a file that was on the cartridge when I got that. As far as I know, that file is the original file that was started back in the 80s when this cartridge was first purchased. And to me, that's super cool. And of course, that file's going to die someday. But I don't know. There's something about me not wanting to let that little piece of the cartridge's history die. The original owner of that cart, 20, 30 years ago, started this file on there. And if there is space on a cartridge, I will always leave one of the original files open. And I don't know. I think that's probably super nerdy and super lame to some people, and you don't get where I'm coming from. But to me, that's a part of its history. Another example here I have is Super Bomberman. On the back here, it has the name Kevin, and that's because this was originally owned by a guy named Kevin, who was my brother's friend. And sometime in elementary school, high school, he moved away, and he gave a bunch of his games to my brother. And I could clean that off. I would understand why you'd want to make it yours, and make it personal, and make it pretty. But to me, I'd rather leave that on, because it's a part of this cartridge's history. And I don't know. It's kind of fascinating to me. Another example, I don't have a physical one, but if you look in some old game manuals, sometimes they have these like these information sheets you could send in, or rebates. Sometimes you'll find those like half done, half filled out, which I think is really cool. Sometimes in the note sections you'll see the password, so you'll know how far the previous owners of the game got. I know a bunch of my Super Nintendo games are full, and again, I get why some people would want minty fresh manuals and cartridges and everything, but I don't know. To me, this stuff is fascinating. So I thought I'd just bring this up and ask if anybody else out there thinks this way, or if you don't, at least you can understand where I'm coming from, or you just think I'm off the wall, and just maybe have a little discussion about it. So post your comments below, do a reply video, a response video, if you feel like it, and just let me know what you think about preserving the history of cartridges and video game stores and stuff by leaving your games as you find them. This has been Silver Mongoose Videos. Remember, classic gaming never gets old.